Morning all. Today we're going to finish off our light stones. We started up our golden stones, sorry. We started up yesterday morning. This is a very light version of a golden stone fly, which is really common along the west coast. Rather large version. Yeah, we're gonna be, right now we're just tying in 6/0 black uni thread. And we're gonna be tying in some /10 lead wire for a little extra weight. Four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 will do it. Yeah, we're going to make a small little thread bump at the back here just to help spread out the tail biots as well. Speaking of tail biots, did I put those away? I did put them away. Oh, so the biots reason is just goose biots and brown, which is basically the natural color. Morning, you Oz. Good to have you in, mate. Just doing up and then some more golden stones, because I only got the one done yesterday. There's our 2 biots. Natural goose flight feathers have a nice, where it's like a really light gray with a dark gray on the rib. And I'm going to be tying this in the length of the working body there, so about yay big. I do like slightly longer tails on my nymphs because they always get beat up. The trout slam these from the back end. I'm gonna try and get a couple of these done up this morning. Yeah, exactly. Biots are almost like magical. They're really cool feathers. Come on, you. Oh, how did that get so off? Thought I had you almost perfect. Okay, so you can come down a bit. Oh man, over adjusting. Yeah, that's pretty much smack on there, looks like. Just gonna bury those ends in. And we'll start back up top here. We'll tie our rib in first. Ooh. Do I got any rib left? Yeah, I do. I'll use this stuff from yesterday. There we go. So our rib is going to be this nice golden West Germany embroidery silk. It's actually a type of polyester, however, though. Would be cool if it was silk, but it's not. But I loves it. It's really good stuff. This company's name now, Gutenberg. Probably butchering the German pronunciation of that. But yeah, they make really good thread. They actually make Unithread too. This is the company that makes Unithread. And they won't tell you that, but did I have a piece left? Oh, I think I used it all up last time. Alright, this is what we're using. It's nice kind of tan colored. It's a 48 on the punch card. Tan wool punch yarn. And her original instructions call for honey colored, a light honey color. So the light stones I've seen have been pretty much exactly this color, so we're gonna go with that. Come on, buddy. We're tied in the same side as our get up here, and then just 3 firm wraps. Back up tying point. Now we're gonna get at least 1 wrap in before our. Oh, don't tangle all up on my thing. Come on now. We're gonna get at least 1 wrap in. And we're gonna go over body with our first wrap. There we go. Switch this back. That 1 wrap will stop it from sliding back, stop the rib from sliding backwards and mucking up our tail while we're fishing it. Just kind of helps lock it in there. In hindsight, I do want to rotary this, so I'm going to half hitch my thread up here. It's got a good bit of wrapping to do, so I may as well use the rotary. There we go. Yeah, biots are such a cool feather. part of a feather, I guess. They're so neat. When I was really young and learning to tie, I would always imagine like what part of a bird that came off of. I just couldn't figure it out. They were mystical and magical. Okay. Now we're gonna go all the way down, so if you have a little bare spot like I got there, it's not a huge deal because you're gonna be going back over it again. Go right to the, just past the working body point that we tied in at for the lead and that. And we're gonna back up and go back again. We're gonna go right back to the halfway point on the working body, which is right about here, and then back again. I'll build this up a little cigar shape. And you aren't going to guess, but we'll go back again. This time we're only going to the halfway mark in between that. Whew. Running out of thread. I'm going to grab some hackle pliers here. Let's get a little close to the end of my fingers. There. We'll do it though. Beauty. That slight bulbous ending there, where we increase the body size, you don't have to do that. It's just overall will give you a much better stonefly shape, and it'll help the legs kick out and be a little more lively when you're fishing it than if you just had a straight body. Hey, thanks for this, Saltitas. Appreciate that, mate. I really do. Hopefully you can come hang out with us. We're here pretty much every morning, about this time, give or take. Okay, so now I'm going to be wrapping this up. We're going to do 8 wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The reason we're doing 8 wraps is because as I spin this, it's going to undo those wraps. The other option is I could do a half hitch and just put it back in my bobbin holder, but this would be a quicker and easier way to do it. And we'll get 7 body wraps. The reason I do 8 instead of 7 is just want that one extra wrap to hold things together. And if you don't like the super little slightly oversized tail biots, you can shorten that up. You can shorten up your leg biots. All that stuff's personal preference for you. There we go. Got our body. It's now ribbed with the yellow. Good morning, Robert. Good to have you in, mate. Thanks for dropping. Since Robert dropped in, this is a great time for a little tea. Oh, that's good stuff. Nice and hot still. Mrr. Alright, so we got 2 more biots to tie in. These are going to be the front legs. Or they're facing backwards. Does that make them the back legs? Well, legs anyway. If you're doing a wet fly version, this one's dry, just like the one we did yesterday. And I'll pop that up here for the new guy. That's what we're tying right there, Yellowstone. You got your poor man's matcha. Well, there's our biots. I'm just going to be tying these down on a bit of an angle. I like them to point almost to the point of my hook. Again, I like them a little bit on the longer side. My personal fishing, because they almost always seem to get chewed up. Which is odd, because they're actually relatively robust things. But yeah, the trout teeth seem to take the ends off them rather quickly. Yeah, they are fairly robust, so you figure they wouldn't, but they do. That's okay, we can compensate. Okay, do I got those in there? That one on my side's not going down as much as it was before. Fix that. Like right about there. Stay. Behave yourself. Oof, you went way too far down. 1 second while I play with this. I normally have more luck than that. Let's undo a wrap or two there. Yeah, that's better. There we go. Got them lined up. Ish. Well, that one on my side just doesn't want to play ball. There we go. That's better. YouTube, yeah, YouTube, behave yourself. Okay. Really? Why are you jumping around so much, buddy? Oh, you jumped like clean to the other side of the hook. What did I do? Wow. Sorry guys, 1 second. I don't normally have this much trouble. Yeah, I'm not sure why these guys are misbehaving this morning. Normally I just kind of whip these in and just keep moving on. Yeah, do as the StreamBot Elements tells you to do. Clicky the buttons, do the thingy thing. Okay, let's just tie these in. Just gonna hold them here. I might have to use a dab of glue or some wax. I don't normally have to because I'm using wax thread. That's okay. I mean, every fly you tie is going to be different anyway. It's always the battle to try and get it to look uniform every time, but natural materials, every single biot I pull off of there is going to be different. It could have had a little damage to it that I didn't notice from the bird preening itself. Could have been a lot of different things. But we're not concerned about it because it's in there. Rather than ADHD kicking in and making me want to continue adjust it. Yeah, the fish aren't going to care whatsoever. Okay, we're good enough. Okay, let's get seeing if I want to do the, yeah, I want to do the overwing first. Oh, and that's going to be deer tail. Let me grab my deer tail. Got it hanging out over here. In hindsight, I should have grabbed one of my small deer tails, because this one is gymongous, which is fine. I'll just cut the end off, but it's nice to save the big stuff for the big flies. So I'm making some big streamers, and this comes in handy. We don't need a lot. We're just making a very light overwing. I'm gonna try for some of this lower stuff here. So we're gonna pull out, like, with the puffiness, about gap height. It's probably more than enough because we're gonna be thinning that out substantially after we stack it. A lot of this is gonna be fluff. So that's probably more than enough. Like I said, we're gonna get rid of a good chunk of that. So I'm gonna be taking all the fluff out. I'm just gonna comb it out first to get any under fur. I don't see any, but there might be some. Lots of little broken bits. And if your tying area isn't covered in fur, you're not tying with deer hair. So I was watching some shorts of a lady that does, I think it's called punch yarning. It's where they felt the wool and make imitations of someone's animal or pet that's passed away, like dog, cat, that kind of thing. And she was using synthetic fibers for whiskers, and I was thinking, like, you know, deer hair tail would actually make wonderful cat whiskers. I'm just gonna start by tapping over here because this is kind of a fibery clump. Yeah, you can see how, like, ridiculously long this is. we're not even gonna use half of what's in here. That's okay. I might have to stack this twice. It didn't look like it stacked very well. Yeah, that didn't really do a lot, did it? Alright, let's pull it out. I'm gonna thin this out again. We just got too much small under fibers in the bottom, which is... I could throw that back in the stacker. A lot of these are quite thin, quite small. Okay, so I'm just gonna do this, and you can see I'm pulling out all the light stuff. It's kind of what I got between my fingers is what we're shooting for anyway. So I'm just gonna keep getting this out. Like I said, if I went with a smaller deer tail, I would have a lot less cleanup to do. This is much better for like a larger dance or streamer or overwing on something that's a good size. Bait fish pattern. Oh, really? Buddy, you just jumped right out of there. Come on. Apologize, let me beat this thing up for a little bit. It doesn't seem to want to stack well. If you have a, one thing that actually works really well for this, if you don't want the crinkly effect on your deer hair, or any hair really that you're tying with, one of those oh yeah, is it office, or not office, Wallet and Gromit, or I know I'm absolutely butchering that name, which is too bad because my wife really likes that movie. There's a two-part name like that though. Something in Gromit. with the dog and the sheep. But you're right, yeah, that's all felted. And there go my scissors. That's okay, we got spares. Yeah, let's see if you decide to stack at all. Yeah, a little better. Alright. Yeah, all this waviness makes it harder to stack because, of course, they friction on each other. So I'm going to grab it. One long one, you're going to go. That's pretty decent. That's not bad at all. We do want to have a nice flat tapered into it because it is a wing. I guess in the end of the day it's personal preference, so if you like your wings tapered, that's all good. I like mine flat. Since this is so ridiculously long, I'm going to kind of pre-size it and cut her off just so I'm not dealing with so much junk. We're going to grab our secondary scissors because I dropped mine on the floor. I'll grab them in a minute. Okay. So again, we want to have this tied in so it's just back from the end of the tail, so you can still see the tail tips fine. And typically a pinch wrap will work best for you in the first go here, just so it doesn't spin as bad on the hook. And you can get about 4 or 5 wraps working your way from front to back, like so. And even though it's slippy, that should hold it right on top there for you. So with practice, that comes, you know, second nature. You can whip that off pretty quick. But not gonna lie, working with deer tail like that on little flies does take a little bit of practice and can be a little bit on the irritating side, just because it is slippy. If you find it extra slippy, add more wax. That's very true, yes. Thank you. What was his little friend? Cornelius? Is it Cornelius, the adventurer? Pretty sure it was Cornelius. Something along those lines, anyway. That's such a great movie. They haven't made movies like that. I know I'm like getting my whole Bark and Martyr. Yeah, they haven't really had a great Christmas movie since around then. I guess the Grinch with excuse me, the Grinch with What's His Pickle was a good one. He did a good Grinch. Okay, so now we're gonna tie on our our forward body, same material. I just need less this time. End up using a lot more of this than I think I'm going to. So I'll go with hand length. Add the ball wax. Yep, just add some more wax. Thankfully, wax is cheap. Nearly free if you climb your own tree and get your own beeswax. A really good cheap source of wax, and you only have to buy it once because it'll last you a lifetime, is a wax toilet ring. Because most, like, you'd have to check the package, but the vast majority of them, at least up here in Canada, are beeswax. And in a lot of hardware stores, I know prices have gone up, but in a lot of hardware stores, they're still only a couple bucks. and you get like close to a pound of beeswax. And yes, it hasn't been used yet, so it's perfectly clean. It doesn't have any poo-poo on it. You don't want to use a used rack string. You want to get a go fresh one for a few dollars. So we're going to be removing a good chunk of this. This is a beautiful dun saddle that I have. It's quite old. Yeah, they can. The best thing to do, like if you're, this is more for like if you're on a budget and you have like an old chapstick or something, you can take it off of the, you can take the old chapstick tube and cram it in there. And then you have the pretty much the same thing as what I got from Wapsie for like 15 bucks. But their premium dub wax is really just, I'm sure it's mostly beeswax and a few other additives mixed into it. Or an old glue stick tube. Do the same thing with that. That's pretty much all the Wapsie one is. Hey, good to see you back, Florida. Thanks for welcoming in, Robert. Appreciate that. Yeah, we're tying in like a good half the feather here, but we're not going to use anywhere close to that. We're just going to get a couple wraps. This is just to imitate movement along the legs and to have it break the water tension surface here. I tied this in ahead of time. You can tie it in after. Just it's a little bit more of a pain to tie it in after once the hackle's all gone around. So I do like to tie it in ahead of time, although it does get in the way a little bit more. Where'd my hackle pliers go? There we go. Just gonna use the standard hackle pliers today. We'll see how much I fight with this one. We want to get those wraps kind of right up and cover our black thread right up where the wing ties in without interfering with the leg like I'm doing. Let's get, I think we're getting it. And it's okay if you get a little bit of your black thread showing through there, because at the sections where their body parts meet, there's a scientific term for that, I can't remember off the top of my head, but you know what I'm talking about, the parts where their thorax meets their tail and all that other stuff. It's always darker, so if you have a little band of black there, it's not a big deal. Another thing to keep in mind if you are using wool like this is it will darken if you're using black thread when it gets into the water. Hey, Muddy Outdoors, good to have you in me. Haven't seen you in a little bit. Yeah, I think I got her there. Looks like I got her tied off. Just realized I got my thread wrapped around my bobbin leg and I was wondering why it was dragging so bad. That would be why. So I'll fix that after this fly. It'll be fine till then. Don't cut her body material. Yeah, welcome in, Muddy. Yeah, I'm just gonna take this, the body head material, thorax, I suppose is what it actually is. Bring that up back. We'll clean this up. Got a few fibers that went a little cattywampus on us. Again, we're not looking for a huge amount of hackle, just that little whiff. It's just enough so when it lands on the water, it'll catch the surface tension enough that the wing will hold it up, and then when you're dragging it forward, it'll break the surface tension and go under. and that seems to drive them nuts, because then it looks like a struggling fly. That's exactly what happens. They would land on the water, struggle a little bit before they sink. This would be the final adult version of this one. Now this time, as I didn't do last time, I'm gonna tie in the horns first, just to make them a little more durable. A lot of people tie them in last, and you're welcome to. There, those two will do. And we're just using the same gray natural Canada Goose biot. It's nice. One feather you can get like a couple dozen flies out of it. I like to have them going like kind of right along the hook eye. Again, I find it's a little more durable, doesn't get as thrashed with the line, like it supports it. Just like that. So it's just kind of following along the eye of the hook there. I always found if I tied it back a bit, the line seems to whip left and right, especially if you're using a loop knot, and kind of trashes them. But in this case, the line holds it forward. And they just seem to last a bit longer. If you're having trouble seeing your biots, like especially this light white color can be hard to see, you can feel them a lot better with your finger, and you know you got them pretty much perfect when they both bounce at the same time. So it's a good trick for the people where their eyesight's starting to go a little bit, or if you just want a quick way to size them up. But yeah, your finger's not gonna lie, so they're gonna be roughly. That one went sideways on me a little bit, but doing that, you can see they're pretty much close enough, pretty much smack on. Alright, so now those are tied in. I'm actually gonna tie these butts in a little bit, stop them from moving around as much. There, that'll do. Then we'll get our forebody in, which I guess technically the thorax, and we'll be good. Alright, to bring my thread all the way up here. There. I do like to hold the hackle back when I get my first couple wraps and get it as close as I can into the hackle without wrecking the horns at the front. Come on, you. There we go. Probably should have put a hackle pliers on this guy. Yeah, I should have put a. Alright, hold on. Just gonna throw hackle pliers on here so I got the weight to hold it if I drop it. We're gonna wrap this back towards the hackle. Ideally without trapping many fibers. In this case, it's just 2 or 3 wraps. You just want to get it right on the hackle point without moving it around too much. There we go. That'll do. And we're wrapping forward, and what? That'll do a couple things. One, it'll hold the hackle back in place. It'll get rid of our dark thread wraps in that spot, and it'll also add a little bit of a bulbous spot there to transition. And when I leave a little bit of room for a tying a head in. But with my light stones, I don't make a big head like I do in all my other nymphs. Just a medium. Just because it's supposed to be a lighter, more daintier, kind of used. It's getting ready to expire, right? They're at the end of their life cycle. They're fully adult, hardened shells, and all that good stuff. The mid-stage to younger ones have a much darker head on them. So for this one, I'm going to go back about half a bobbin width for my head. Right about there. That's what I like. Just enough to give it a little pop of black, but nothing crazy. How did I get into fly tying? No, you didn't, but you asked how I got into fly fishing, which was a good little story. But how I got into fly tying is my dad fly tied in our old house, which is actually just across the play for me. No worries, Ewa. It's good to have you drop in, man. Appreciate that. Good luck with the rest of your day trip, or day chores and whatnot. But yeah, my dad originally used to sit up in our loft and fly tie up there. And I used to just sit and watch him, and occasionally he'd let me try and tie something. Yeah, we're going to throw on a couple half hitches here around our, I'm going to be using my big half hitch tool, which is super secret scientific metal pen. You will not find that in a fly tying shop, so you're going to have to make your own. Yeah, good day, Wiz. Hopefully everything goes out good for you, mate. So we're just going to do 2. Just pushing the horns in so they don't get damaged. There we are. Got a little bit of fuzzies around the head there, but I'm not worried about it. And our half hitch tool. If I can untangle it from all my bobbins, there we go. Sorry, whip finish tool. That was the half hitch tool we just used. This one's a whip finish tool. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Yeah, just like a small little black head on them, like that, like a medium. I guess it'd be more of a medium than a small. So nothing crazy, but just pronounced enough that you can definitely see that it's there. And I know we were going over this was it yesterday or the day before? Yeah, when you're cutting off your thread, bring it up on an angle like this so that the thread's kind of going off 90 degrees from where your bobbin's pointing. And then when you're pulling it off, just put your finger on the top, and now it's locked in. So when you cut your thread, it stays in there, and it won't go poof, and you've removed all the tension. So now if I let go, can you see it? There it is on this side. You can see that it's just loose, and it's not going to go ploing and just spring back to the Good habit to get into. Not required at all, but man, that's going to save you some trouble of rethreading your bobbin every time. There we go. Yeah, throw some head cement on that guy. There, this next one I'm going to try and do a little more tying, a little less talking. Unless you guys have comments, concern, accusations. Because I want to get one more done if we can here before. Got to get breakfast going and that for the kidlets. There's just a couple fibers that are sticking out here. There. Get it ready for its close-up, right? That's still a little buggy, but that's okay. It's a bug. Let's see here. So that's up. Looks like it went down. I'm just gonna straighten him out a little bit. Oop, that made you worse. 1 second. There we go. Back to the way you were. Okay, so we're just gonna rotate that for a minute. We let that dry. That's a golden stone tied on a size 6, 3 times long Aberdeen hook. It has a Canada goose, gray, brown, biot tail, legs, and horns. The body is tied in a honey-colored golden wool with a white overwing of deer tail and some dun hackle. Just a little sparse dun hackle, give it some movement and some leg. That'll also break the surface tension of the water, so it can be fished as a dry fly at first, and then pulled in through the bottom. That was originally tied by Audrey Joy. Oh, sorry, this was originally tied by A.H. Polly, which did a lot of tying around the same time as Audrey Joy. This is the dry version. Actually, hold on. I think I've got the wrong. I got golden stone up here. My bad. I think it was Audrey Joy, not E.H. Polly. I apologize. Yes, I had the wrong page. Golden stone looks a lot like a light stone. The only difference really is the wing. Yeah, sorry. Alright. So it was originally tied by Audrey Joy of Portland. This is the dry fly version with the... come on, brain, make the words. That's the dry fly version with the overwing from whitetail deertail and a little bit of dun hackle. Alright, we'll try and get another one of those guys done up here. He can go hang out with his friend. There's our two there. Looking spunky. Ugh, sorry, American Anthem. We're gonna switch out. I think it's Amazing Grace, actually. I just want something more chill this morning. Have some tea before we move on. Oh, that's better. Okay, I'm just gonna start my thread in there. Yeah, thanks for dropping in, Florida. Always appreciate it. Good to be having you in the mornings. Appreciate it. See you tomorrow, eh? Okay, so we're right back to the butt, which is gonna be right by our barb on our hook. And then we're gonna add some lead weight. Again, we're tying this in a uni 6/0 black. Our lead wire is gonna be in 10. Again, if you need some cheap weighted lead wire for your lead-free wire, or either way, depending on what you find. Oop. 1 second. Let's pull that off. My bad. I pulled a little too hard on that. Yeah, if you're looking for cheaper, easier to access wire, because it can be sometimes hard to find in fishing fly shops, it's regular soldering wire. Will work just fine. You just want to try and find the stuff that has no rosin in it. Really, buddy? Right, well, let's keep going. My bobbin's actually catching. That's the reason this bobkin is relegated to the lead wires, because it's got all sorts of nicks and cuts and kinks in it. So it is now used for this purpose. Other than just there, it seems to work okay. I don't generally have a lot of problem with it. Yeah, just gonna slide that back a hair so we're right at our thorax starting point. We'll counterwrap that with some thread. Yeah, the surgeon style knots you use with suturing are extremely useful for all sorts of different things, not just fishing. And not only is it the knowledge of what knots to use and when you would want to use them, but just the practice in using the knots. A lot of people don't have. And a good portion of becoming good with knot tying. That was an ugly. It's an unfortunate lead wrapping job. Ooh. It could have gone a lot better, but whatever. It's just weight. No one's ever gonna see it. So as long as it's tied on, it's all good. What we're gonna do though is we're gonna add just a whiff of head cement on it there to hold it in place, because it is broken in several locations. But once this dries in all those little ridges, it's not going to go nowhere. There we go. And that's cool that your dad was a surgeon. Thanks for sharing that, Robert. Appreciate that. I have a lot of respect for people that follow those. Nah, they're not going to see it. Neither will the fly fishermen either. The only downside of that kind of thing is you end up with a bit of a lumpier body, so I'm just going to have to be more mindful of that while I'm wrapping the... Oh, we're just using kind of goose biot. I'll take 2 of them off there for the tail. I like to tie mine in one at a time. A lot of people will tie them in at the same time. don't really know if it actually saves really any time doing that. It might a little bit, I suppose. Okay, so I'm gonna get this at my working length of my body, so right like that. So I like them a little bit on the longer side. Right there is good. That little thread bump should be enough to splay them out for us. Another thing you can do too, if you don't want to do the thread bump deal, is you can just put a little tiny, the thread you got is the best thread. No, I'm kidding. Although kind of not at the same time. It depends on the fly you want to use, or the fly you want to tie. For the most part, like 95% of all flies I tie, I can tie with uni thread in black 8/0. I'm using a 6/0, which is one size thicker right now because it's a larger fly. But an 8/0, I wouldn't recommend that if you're starting to learn to tie that you start with an 8/0. It won't build up as much, but it's not nearly as strong as a 6. So I'd recommend you go up with a 6/0, which is about a 72 denier. So a lot of companies, will measure their thread diameter in. Yeah, thanks for dropping in, Tyler. I appreciate the questions. Anytime I can be helpful for you, that makes me happy. That's alright, to make your simple question much longer than it probably needs to be. If you're starting to tie, I would recommend going with a uni thread, which is basically like your common. Oh, and I still didn't fix this here. Why don't we do that while we're talking about that? My thread did get wrapped around my bobbin here, and I just need to fix that. I'm not sure when that happened, but it happened at some point. There we go. Now it's nice and straight down the middle. That was just creating a little extra drag for me. Sorry, so you have, do I have any kicking around? So you basically have like 3 types of thread, depending on your company. You have a Danville. These are brands, but this Danville is in between the thread I'm using. The thread I'm using is a rounded thread, so it's basically like a cord, like a rope. So it's perfectly round. Danville is a flat thread with a wrap on it, so it comes out almost like a corded thread, just like this one. So you can see it maybe if I put my finger there. See, it's nice and round, fairly thin. Danville's is flat with 2 strands wrapping around it, so it ends up being like a cord. But if you put pressure on it, you can flatten it out. And then the other type, do I have any down here? Sorry, you have to excuse me. I don't have the label on it, but this is a Tech Stream, and this is a completely flat, so it comes out like a ribbon. Oop, I pulled it off the deal. So the benefit of having it flat like this is you can tie a good 15-20 wraps on there before you make a lot of bulk. Yeah, if you're doing jig tying, you definitely want to move up from 72 to like 120, 110, 140. There's really no point in tying it with 72. You'll be there all day trying to make your wraps around your head. And again, like I said when I started here, is it'll depend on what hooks you want to tie. This is just my general advice for the type of hooks I tie. Is like 90% of everything I tie can be done with uni. Anyway, sorry, back to the rant without getting too ranty. I recommend that you start with uni thread or rounded thread, and then work your way up to using the flat thread. And a lot of fly tying shops will probably recommend the opposite, because the flat threads are new and they're kind of the thing, and there's what they're going to be selling you, and they probably have a lot more stock in. There aren't as many companies with rounded thread. People tied flies with rounded thread for hundreds of years because that's all they had. The flat thread, which is also termed as GSP or gel spun polymer. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. But yeah, gel spun polymer is a flat thread, and the benefit, like I said, is you build up a lot less bulk. It's way stronger. So, like, who was it here? Like Mike was saying, he uses 140, so that's twice as thick as what I'm using here. And he probably uses a GSP thread because he needs something that he can grab and torque down on his material with. The reason I recommend not moving that way when you're first tying, unless you're moving to tie jigs like Mike was talking about, is if you get a GSP thread, it's so strong that you can, when you're pulling down on it, you can cut your materials long before you break your thread. And that can be a real pain for new tires when they're not used to getting their thread control correct. So until you get used to how much pressure you can put on your thread, binding your material down without breaking the thread and without cutting your material, because a lot of GSP will just slice through it like butter. And again, depends on the material and the type of fly you're tying, but this is, again, we're generalizing. A round corded thread like this will teach you your thread control, because you can't pull too hard on it or it will break, and it'll break before you cut your material, which is a lot more annoying than breaking your thread because you can recover from that. So yeah, longer story shorter, I would highly recommend that you start with a corded thread. There are more than just uni. There's, like I said, the Danvilles. Is a good one to start with as well. That's a classic waxed. There's many kind of other fly tires out there that have their classic waxed versions, and I'd recommend you start with that because it'll just make life a lot easier on you for that learning curve of that part. Your thread control is extremely important if you want to make it into an actual hobby and you want to get good at it. If you're a fisherman already, which I'm assuming you are, if you're a fisherman already, it'd be the same thing as spooling your fishing rod, like your spinning rod, with like 80-pound test and fishing with 80-pound test all the time. You can. There's nothing stopping you from using 80-pound test all the time. But you're going to just winch the fish in, and you're not going to have as much feel on the line. You're going to, you know, it's not going to be as fun. It's not going to be as enjoyable. And you're not going to learn as much about drag and all that other stuff. So it's very similar to the kind of line that you would have on your fishing rod, right? So even though you can start with 80-pound test and it won't break and you won't get frustrated that way, you're going to not learn about drag and you're not going to learn about all those other things. So hopefully that analogy works okay for you. And that would be my suggestion, and starting with a thicker thread when you first start out, just so it doesn't break all the time on you and get you frustrated. And then moving to a thinner thread that whatever you feel is correct for your fly should help you out a fair bit. But again, my advice is going to be different than most shops. They're probably going to tell you to start with GSP so you don't break your thread all the time. It's kind of a bit of pick your poison of what you think you can deal with frustration. for me, cutting material and not having any feel, I think is a lot worse than breaking your thread, which you can recover from. And it's good to learn to recover from, actually, because it will happen. Tying with GSP, like fishing with like a stupidly heavy fishing line, it's a little bit more like having training wheels on, right? Mickey fin, I was actually going to tie some of those. I don't have a video up for those yet, but I will. Who had a really, there was Savage Flies had a really good, here, let me wrap this here. Savage Flies had a really good Mickey fin, in my opinion, tutorial up. So I'd recommend his channel. Just look up Savage Flies, he's all over Instagram, YouTube's, Facebook. It's a cool pattern, and it's not too complicated that you couldn't figure it out as a new tire. So if you want to start there, you can. It is a little bit more on the complicated side, but not by a whole lot. A lot of people will start with, like, say, a woolly bugger or waltz worm or some different types of midge patterns. That's typically what most people will start off with, just because it teaches you a lot of fundamentals. If you're just looking to tie a certain kind, like a certain amount of patterns, and that's what you want to fish with, and you don't really care / going to use the other ones, then yeah, go for it. Excuse me. Just tie those patterns. There's nothing wrong with just learning to tie a few patterns. It's a little bit like if you wanted to learn guitar, right, and you only had like a couple songs that you ever wanted to play on guitar. It's like you could learn how to play guitar and then learn how to play those songs. But if you only care about those couple songs, just learn those songs and move on with life, right? Yeah, we're going to tie in our next legs here. I'm going to speed this up. I'm yabbering a bit much. Not that I don't mind helping, I'm just running short on time because I'm going to have to get breakfast going here. For the most part on here anyway, I tie a lot of classic patterns because that's just my jam. I will be getting to modern patterns more in the spring here. To be honest, like, you can tie a deceiver as a new tire, but they are definitely more of an advanced fly just because there's a lot of body material in that to tie in, and it's a larger fly. I'd work up to that, to be honest with you. You could, like I said, again, it really depends on what your goal is to try and get tied, but I wouldn't recommend that as a fly for a new tire. Not that it's impossible, not that you shouldn't try, it's just you're probably going to suffer a little bit, to be honest with you. I'd recommend sticking with something simple like a woolly bugger. That'll teach you the fundamentals a little bit, unless that's all you want to fish is like a deceiver and a few other patterns. It's not that there's really too much, it's just trying to think of a good analogy for it. It's like if you're learning to bake a cake for the first time, right? You could make a simple round cake with icing on the top, throw a few cherries on it. It looks like a cake. No question's ridiculous. I'm just trying to think of a way to make it make a bit of sense in another realm. So yeah, I'll use the cake analogy. So if you want to learn how to make a cake, right? Your most simple cake that you're going to learn to make is going to be your you know, round cake, just a simple round pan, single layer icing on the top, maybe some blemishes on the top like a cherry or some sprinkles, done. You know, that's a cake. Everyone's going to look at it and go, yep, that's a cake. So a deceiver is more like a triple layered cake with gel and or jam and different stuff in the middle, and then like a marbled cake batter and, you know, several icings on the top with like little. It's just got a lot more to it. So it's not that you couldn't start off by making that kind of cake, but most people aren't going to, right? Most people are going to jump in and the first cake they make is going to be a simple cake. So it's not that you can't, it's just not that you shouldn't, it's just you might not want to. Yeah, that kind of thing too, yeah. That's what I mean, like the more variables that you have when you're starting off with a pattern, it's not that you definitely can't or shouldn't start off with more difficult patterns like this. I'm actually going to be grabbing some from the bottom for this one just because it's too wispy up top there for me for this. It's just eating up too much time to stack, so I'm breaking my own rules and we're going to go with this stuff here and hopefully it doesn't puff up too much on me. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense without me having to get... And again, this is all me future casting and just thinking what would be the best. If I was teaching someone to play guitar or bake a cake, I wouldn't start off with like Stairway to Heaven or a 3-tier cake. I'd start off with a simple cake. But again, if all you want to eat is 3-tiered cakes and you don't care about a single tier cake, then yeah, I mean, you might want to save some time and just move right to 3-tier cakes. And deceivers are great patterns. I mean, they work really well for lots of different species. So if that's your jam, there's nothing stopping you from starting there. It's just, I'd expect that it's going to be a bit more of a trial for you, you know? Do I have chartreuse? I got gobs of chartreuse. Not as much as some people, though. There's some people that chartreuse is their jam, like Mr. Turner. From Karappy Man Jigs. If you like jig making, check his channel out. I got a sweet tooth. I eat probably way more sugar than I should. But yeah, this is way more poofy than the last. That's okay. You can see how much it's flaring up on me there, so that's why I'm slowly wrapping this back to kind of bind it in there without it flaring too much. Do some softer wraps here. Yeah, considering how bad the front flared, that actually the back turned out good. So there we go. We got through that without much trouble. Yeah, Robert's just starting. Good for you, Robert. Yeah, Robert started kind of like almost exactly the way I would recommend most people start. So, in my opinion, that means that he's got a good teacher that kind of knows what's what, you know. Some fly shops will start you somewhere else because they got certain materials and stuff they want to sell you, like GSP thread. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just it has a completely different use than what I would consider regular fly tying thread. Not that there is a regular fly tying thread. Yeah, let's get some more body thread going here. We'll get that tied in, then we'll get our horns tied in, then we'll get our hackle tied in. Again, this is a 48 on a punch card, punch wool. And we'll get our 2 front horns. Oh, the kind of tinsel looking ones that people tie in with woolly buggers and whatnot. The, man, now that you're asking, my brain went blank. It wants to say marabou, but that's not the right answer. Flashabou is what a lot of people call it, but there's also another term for it. Flashabou's a little on the limper side. There's Flashabou, and then there is... Oh, Robert might be able to chime in on me here. My brain's drawing a blank. I have a bunch of it right beside me, but I can't recall. A lot of people just call it Flash and different names like that. There is an actual brand name for it. Kind of like Kleenex is, you know, tissue paper. Flashabou is a common term for it though, but that's slightly limper than what I think you're thinking of. That's more like a tinsel. Chenille's the body material. Unless that's what he was asking about. I don't have any chenille close by. I'm assuming he's talking about the stranded flash material that you tie in like around the tail of a woolly bugger sometimes, depending on the style of pattern you're going for. Again, that's my assumption. But most people just call it Flashabou, which is an actual brand name. I might actually, here, one second. I'll be a good guy and I'll grab the Flashabou I have handy. I have 1 pack, I think, of Flashabou buried in the depths. Or maybe not. Nope, I do. Alright. So this is a Flashabou. It's a brand name. But you can see this is a much limper than the stuff that you're thinking about. But this is more like a tinsel. But the ones you're thinking, I'm assuming you're thinking about, have a little bit more of a curl to them. And you tie those in with clousers and bait minnows and all sorts of stuff to give it a little bit of flash and movement and lifelike in the water. All right, I'm gonna get this moving here because I gotta get breakfast going. And of course I don't have a hackle ready. One second. You did close enough there, Robert. It's all good. Honestly, I don't know the exact spelling of it either. I'd have to look at a package. I think it's French. Silly French. Always making things weird. Alright, there we go. Alright, just one done hackle saddle feather. Get this stripped off and tied in. Get this guy done. That's kind of bothering me now. I can't think of the name of that stuff. I know it does actually have a brand name. But a lot of people just call it Flash. Like if you're watching Ruben, he'll just term it as Flash. Yeah, if you're tying jigs, Crappy Man Turner fishing's great for that, and probably one of the best, in my opinion, jig tires is Ruben. Not only is he just an awesome guy, but he ties a mean jig. And he's been doing it for a while, and he's really good at it. Yeah, that's very true. Okay, gonna get this hackle wrapped. Oh no, buddy, come on now. I broke my racus. Okay, let's do this again. Always, that's the problem, is I'm rushing it a bit. My bad, I need to chill out, get this done. There, I need to be a good little feather, and you stay right where you are. Got a nice fire going already this morning. I just gotta make breakfast for the kids and get lunches made and everything for the school day. I'm not sure about your question there. Are you talking about like my fly tying materials? Like to buy the whole store? I'm not sure how that question, I'm sorry. You would probably go broke before you bought the whole store. I'm pretty certain you would go broke before you bought the whole store. It can be to answer your question in a different manner, fly tying can be as cheap or as expensive as you want it to be. I have some feathers that are, 20 to 30 bucks a feather. I have some feathers that, I could tie hundreds of flies with for like $2. So it's kind of hard to answer your question. If you're buying a whole fly shop, yeah, I mean, they're going to have a mix of all that, right? So you can have one cape that's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. You can have one cape that's like $10, and you can tie just as many flies with both. It all depends on the quality and the rareness and the type of material. So that's kind of the best I can do to answer that question for you. Just like anything else, right? Like if you're a painter and you're buying paint, you can start off with poster paint that's like $1 a bottle at the dollar store, and you can paint with that. You can do a good job with it if you know what you're doing. And fly tying is the same way, it's an art. So you can buy really expensive paint. More than likely, especially if you go to a fly shop. You could start fly tying. I've been meaning to do some videos to set up for that. I want to do like a master class on how to start fly tying extremely cheaply. And that's kind of my jam. I like the vintage old stuff and the cheap materials and found materials and that kind of thing. That is my jam. But if you go into a fly shop, of course, they're going to sell you what they have in the fly shop. And you're going to be lucky to get out of there for $127, to be honest. Yeah, I mean 127 is pretty. You can quickly spend that in a fly shop. Sorry, just fighting with my hackle here, trying to get it. I should have a hackle pliers on there for weight, but I don't. There we go. No audio? I'm muted? You sure, man? My levels look like they're popping, okay? You can't hear me? Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought my audio was okay. But you know, every once in a while it does drop out. I'm doing this one way thicker on the body. I actually moved the body back quite a bit more than it probably should have been. Okay, good deal. Okay, let's get a hackle plier on that. Oh, for sure. I love getting stuff at thrift stores and that. Not only are you reusing items that, you know, would have been thrown away anyway, but you're getting it like pennies on the dollar. And a lot of times it's the exact same material, even better in some cases. Because it's vintage and you can't buy it anymore, they don't make it. Excuse me. A little more tea in me here. One second. There we go. Yeah, he's got a little bulbous thorax going on, but I'm still happy with him. Let's get rid of his little beard. Yeah, YouTube does that sometimes. Happens to me too when I'm watching streams, for sure. So we're just gonna do a medium-sized head on this guy. There we go. Come on now. Yeah, I think like what Muddy's talking about is like it depends on what you want to tie. Like you could fill your house with material that you'll never use because you're not tying those flies, where someone would, you know, absolutely love all that material because that's exactly what they tie with. Like if you're not tying dry flies, you're not going to use a whole lot of hackle. If you're not tying, um, you know, jigs and stuff, you might not use a lot of chenille or marabou. But if that's all you're tying, then you're going to use a ton of chenille and marabou. Excuse me. Yeah, let's get a half or whip finish on this guy. I had to do some videos on whip finishing and a bunch of different stuff. Can't tell. Do I have that in the right spot? Yeah, it looks like I do. Okay. Yeah, so when you go in the thrift store, you can check out like the yarn wool section. You'll find a lot of great stuff in that section. You can even repurpose old clothing. Like I'll buy like old wool coats or wool vests or wool shawls or fur wool and all that different, like whatever material you want to tie with. But yeah, you get like a vintage wool or a vintage fur shawl, and you. Oh, okay, you're Canadian. Good to have you in. Or we're Canadian. I'm not sure where you are now. I got a lot of good East Coast fly tires though. I like East Coast flies, like Atlantic flies. Well, that's cool, Tyler. Okay, so there we go. That's a light. I'm just gonna fix it. It seems like it's a little bit. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, like for Robert's mention there, you want it to be a fly that you're really passionate about and that you want to learn. So it's gonna motivate you to get past those rough spots that are just hard. You know, for me, I think my first couple flies that I really sat down and tied like a couple hundred of was like the Royal Coachman because I love that fly. It's just it's a classic fly. Adams dry fly. Tied hundreds of those just to get better at it. Yeah, find something you're passionate about that you really like to do and that you want to get better at, and you want to have that consistency with. And yeah, just sit down with a box of stuff and just go at it. Make some good tea, make a pizza. So that's your light stonefly. It was originally tied by Audrey Joy from Portland. It's tied on a it's tied on a size 6 hook, 3 times long, and it has a light honey colored body with wool and chased with a golden rib, some white-tailed deer over wing, and light dun hackle with Canada goose biots for the legs, horns, and tail. Wonderful late and early season fly when the stoneflies are hatching. Okay, so that's all for me for today, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks, Robert, Tyler. Good to have you in, mate, buddy. Good to have you back. Who else did we have in today? We had Ewaz, but Ewaz is gone at this point. We had JFE Outdoors. Ah, I missed you, man. Sorry. We had Mike. We had Florida Fishing in. I think I got everyone. Yeah, Ewaz. Yeah, that's all you. Hey, thanks everyone for dropping in. Fully appreciate it. You guys have a good day. Hopefully your week starts off and continues well. No worries. Thanks for